Hi, and welcome to the Green with Tiffany podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Page, and in this show, we'll explore topics of sustainable living, all aspects of health and wellness of people and planet, and how we're all interconnected. Join us on this journey to live better and more sustainably by improving our health, our families, and the world with the choices that we make. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Tiffany Page, and you're joining us on Green with Tiffany for Pet Wellness Month. So I've named this Pet Wellness Month because I wanted to have a condensed area with all these amazing people that I've met to bring them together for the month and talk to them about all the different preventative and treatments and things you can do for your beautiful fur baby. And so today we are with a very, very impressive man, Dr. Ihor Basko. Hi, Dr. Basko.
Hi, aloha.
Aloha. Yes, he's coming to you from Hawaii. So he has been practicing holistic veterinary medicine for over 35 years. I mean, that was probably not that holistic medicine wasn't around, but I don't know that if enough people knew about it at the time. So I can't wait to ask him about that. But he is a graduate from Michigan State University in a veterinary medical program and had a special focus in the field. I'm going to have to read a few of these things: internal medicine, cardiology, bone surgery. And his early years were in veterinary medicine that were spent working in a busy emergency room in California. I'm sure you have many stories to tell from that. But he is a leading authority on holistic animal health and was one of the first to study the effectiveness of acupuncture. Now, you know, acupuncture, okay, it's been around thousands of years, but back when he was doing this study, this was for animals and probably like something so foreign to most people. And this was done at UCLA. And he's also one of the founders of the Veterinary Botanical Medical Association. And so he lectures as well, though might have been a little bit slower on COVID. So Zoom, but it's probably better. You can probably reach more people that way, but lectures to other veterinarians, animal trainers, animal caretakers on the use of holistic modalities all over. He's there in Hawaii, which is, of course, part of North America, but Asia as well, and has published numerous articles, videos, books on these different various holistic healthcare topics. And so, of course, acupuncture is one of them, which is Lilli, my Chihuahua, had done acupuncture here and it did amazing things for her. Herbal medicine, dietary therapy, homeopathy, massage, and just many, many alternative therapies that are there for animals and supplements. I know you're a big supplement person as well. So one of the things I noticed on your website, because you can have a phone consultation with Dr. Basko. I'm going to call you Dr. B for short, because I know you go by that.
Fine. Everybody does.
But Dr. B has a different kind of primary care practice. And when I was reading about it, I thought it was interesting because the integrative vet that I found here in the States, in California, that I was going to, has a similar setup. And so it's kind of, I consider a more modern way to have an office. And I hope we're moving into that way to take care of your pet, which has a more like spa-like feel. So it had like these comfy mats, soft padding for the animals to get their treatment, a lot of sunlight and warmth. So lights, windows, right? Some of the other practices are just, very sterile office. There's no windows. And then with the sunlight and the warmth, calming music, which I don't know who it helps, but more the pet or the pet parent, because when I walked in full of anxiety, I was like, and she always seemed so just light on her feet. She seemed happy. She was walking around. She actually had freedom of the place while she was there. So there are amazing credentials. I mean, there's a whole list of credentials for Dr. Basko, and I could go on and on, but obviously I want to get a chance to speak to him. So we're going to start, right? And I want to introduce you to a doctor and an educator. And I thank you for being here, Dr. Ihor Basko. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just commenting on the clinic ambiance.
Yes.
So I've worked in regular clinics. I've worked in over, I think, 12 clinics, 12 different clinics. And, what's missing is you don't know until you start doing house calls. And I quit doing the in the building type thing, and I started doing house calls. And I noticed that animals were much more comfortable at home, and it was easier to do acupuncture on a dog Not on a cat though. But what I got is you need to have a clinic that has a homey environment. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now that works with acupuncture and alternative medicine. But if you want to have like surgeries and sanitation, then you have to have a separate building for the modern hospital that has everything and it has to stay really clean. Whereas if you're doing acupuncture, massage, or some of these consultations with people about diets, you want a nice, relaxing atmosphere. So my clinic here is mostly outdoors because I'm in Hawaii.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so, what they hear is birds, okay? Awesome. And they see wild chickens running around. And, so it's relaxing, it's comfortable. And so dogs don't come here shaking out of fear. So then you have to fight over fear. But, the healing atmosphere is really important, but it's under acknowledged in veterinary medicine. Because veterinary medicine tries to copy human medicine, and human medicine is becoming inhumane. It's ridiculous. Anyhow, so if you do house calls as a veterinarian, you will open up to a whole new way of understanding what a dog needs, and you got to make them comfortable. You can't make them scary if you're going to do anything to them.
What I was so happy about when I had to drop Lilli off for these treatments here in California where I live, I felt good about it because she liked being there and she was in good spirits and actually kind of really thrived while she was there. So it made me feel good about doing that. So with that, I'm making a small announcement. Well, it's actually a really big announcement that I haven't shared yet, and I will have to share it more openly everywhere else. But my little Lilliput got her wings and she's no longer with us. And so I'm telling you all because I want to share with you the people that I found very, very late in the game. I found Dr. B this year, and already after we were very far along. So Lilli had mammary cancer and Dr. B had set up a really amazing protocol. There was a little bit of a wild card that I threw in because I did do, I guess you would call it kind of a pharmaceutical procedure that normally I would not have done, but I was in desperation mode, which I know that some of us get there and we don't know what to do. And we're doing everything and we're grasping at straws. And so even with all my knowledge of holistic care and all the people that I had met, I know it's hard to kind of navigate and find your way. And so that's why I want to bring you these people. And preventative, is always going to be better than treatment. Or not better, but, it's always good to stop something from, coming to fruition if you can. And so we're talking today, the topic is going to be about aging. Lilli almost made her 17th birthday, which is already, she did have a long life. I was just hoping I could get her to like 20, right. And Dr. B had a border collie that lived to be 24. That's amazing.
Yeah, she amazed me.
So we're here going to be talking about pet aging, how we can do it gracefully with them, pain-free. And thank you for being here, Dr. B. And thank you for all your years of knowledge and expertise. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to talk to you. So I know that you're a believer in nutrition and vitamins and minerals. And, I think you do your own blend of some nutraceuticals as well. So what would you say for the person listening in and thinking, oh my gosh, yes, I have a 15-year-old and, what should I be doing? What is like the first thing that we could maybe look to do?
In general, what I notice is what's missing in dogs that don't live long, the average is like 12. And so some people think that's good if you have a large dog, but the people that feed their dogs fresh food, some of them don't even know what they're doing, but they're feeding, a little vegetable, a little meat, sometimes fish. And those dogs never get cancer. They never get sick. They don't use a lot of, flea and tick products. Mm-hmm. They don't over vaccinate. I mean, after 3 years, your dog should be protected against everything. And if you have a house dog, why keep vaccinating them? So there's a lot of things that veterinarians recommend that are actually not great for longevity. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, veterinarians only have a few tools, and it's got to be a drug, an antibiotic, or some kind of prescription diet in the back. There's not a lot they'll give you. Like I always tell my people when I talk on my radio show, Pets, People in Paradise, when you get a bag of stuff from your vet, ask the vet, is there anything that helps repair the problem? Anything that helps regeneration? And is there anything that helps restore back to normal function in this bag? Okay. So it's usually something that stimulates or suppresses or kills. That's pretty much what you get when you go to the vet. And that's kind of sad. I mean, I think because, and I see it because I do so many phone consults from all over the USA, and I see the same problems as no fresh food, no antioxidants. And I think if people understand the aging process begins early on, then you could like slow it down, improve longevity, prevent cancer. The arthritis won't be as bad. I mean, I have it myself, and I take different supplements, and sometimes I will stop the supplements to see what happens. Well, then what happens is I get stiff again.
Okay.
I trick myself. It's good to stop and see, oh, does this really make a difference? I got like 20 bottles of stuff, you know?
Yeah. So Lilli did eat fresh foods. She liked her vegetables. She never ate dog food. We never gave her kibble. She never had dog food. But I do have people that tell me, oh, well, I read that kibble's good for my dog, so that's what I'm giving them. And of course, I don't know who wrote that article or who did the research on that article, but would you recommend any type of kibble, or is it all a big no?
So the thing about kibble, okay, it's easy, it's convenient, it's cost effective, but there's not a lot of regulations about pesticides, Roundup, heavy metals. You know, you can have a lot of heavy metals and it's not anybody's problem. USDA is not going to say anything unless something dies, and there's like 3,000 deaths. And then somebody does something about it. So in general, it's like, how many veterinarians eat out of a bag? And they eat the same thing 3 times a day for weeks, months, years. I mean, if you don't eat that way, why do you recommend to feed a dog that way? You know, the dogs are the first domesticated animal that had a relationship other than, you don't eat the dog, where humans and dogs evolved together, and the dogs evolved eating human food over centuries. So the dog food thing is a new thing. And so it's not necessarily healthy. There are better brands than others, but just think about it. I mean, could you just live on power bars and chips,
And still processed, still has food coloring a lot of the time sometimes.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to be like realistic about it. Someone tells you this is good stuff and you got to feed it all the time. Well, I would ask that person, do you have good stuff that you eat the same thing every day for years? I mean, really, it doesn't even make sense. Oh, it's balanced. Yeah, it's got the minimum daily requirements. It doesn't have the optimal daily requirements, which makes a big difference, which would make your dog food more expensive because they would have to get better, ingredients. Yeah. So I think the best thing to do is learn how to make your own dog food. Yeah, you can make it different ways. You can do raw, you can cook, you can do a combination, and you can use maybe a good kibble that is more holistic. But I couldn't believe how much that cost. A good kibble for thing was like $100. It's like, wow, you might as well cook.
True. Sometimes I think, what do you have to wean your dog off if they're on kibble, right? And move it. No, you don't have to do that.
You just got to give them probiotics. Mm-hmm. You have to give them something to improve their microbiome. So 80% of your immune system is in your gut. Your GI system starts from your mouth, ends at your butt. And that's the dog's immune system. And if they've been on antibiotics, that messes with the beneficial bacteria. And you need a different kind of beneficial bacteria to get real food absorbed properly. So you built up a certain kind of bacteria. What creates cravings for food? It's your bacteria. And so if you have bacteria that loves chocolate and sugar, and they love it, so they produce serotonin, the feel-good hormone. And then every time you eat chocolate, you feel good. Why? Because you're making your bacteria happy. They're producing serotonin, the feel-good hormone. A lot of serotonin is made in your gut. Most people don't know that. They think it's the brain. So you have to change the bacteria to be more of a diverse amount. So you give them a live probiotic, and there's several dog ones, and there's several human ones that I use on dogs. So it's a live bacteria mixed with your food. It helps digestion. It repopulates the bacteria that is beneficial. It improves the immune system, improves the intestinal tract functions. So, one thing, good food and a probiotic, you go a long way of just doing those two things and nothing else.
Well, that's amazing. I was giving Lilli a human probiotic, which was BioK, because she'd been on so many rounds of antibiotics.
Yeah.
Yeah, probiotic, very, very important. And then fresh foods, you gave me some great functional medicine recipes. Food is definitely thy medicine. So for people, they had some of them called for a little bit of garlic. And so there are people that think, oh, you can't give your dog garlic. You can't give your dog onions. You can't give your dog avocado. And you say?
Well, yeah, if you're going to give them like a clove of garlic to a Chihuahua, yeah, you're going to have a problem. You give a clove of garlic to a golden retriever, you'll probably get diarrhea. No, you use tiny amounts of things for, mostly why is garlic in there? It's for flavoring. It's to cover the smell of some of the other vegetables that a dog might not like. But you don't need to have garlic. Onions used to be in dry dog food until they made a big mistake and put too many in one brand, and a bunch of dogs got the blood problems from the onions, and so they stopped onions. But yeah, you don't need to use garlic or onions because there's other better options, but they have their functions.
Yes, but if you would like to use them, you could use them in small amounts.
Yeah, you put like one garlic clove and you make a crock pot full of food that's got maybe 12 cups in it. That's not going to hurt anybody.
Yeah. So I was giving it to Lilli, and she loved it actually with the livers and the rice. Something that a lot of the aging dogs have. So we're speaking specifically to Lilli had mammary cancer, and she had a tumor that we had removed back in 2017. But this is way before I met Dr. B. And if I had known him then and could have done preventative, that would have been amazing. But we did more treatment, and we did it when I found him. We were, like I said, very late in the game. But something that she did have, as all aging dogs do, or people in general as well, is arthritis, joint issues. And so I was taking Lilli to get acupuncture, and that was actually completely corrected. I mean, she was running around like a puppy again. I couldn't believe it because her back legs were going out on her. So what are some things specifically to that?
So the deal about, you really have to understand the process. And, as you get into your 40s and 50s, you start realizing, hey, I'm starting to age. And when you see your dog limping and you're getting, sleeping all the time, you're saying, wow, what's happening? Before you know it, you're getting older yourself. And before you know it, gosh, my pet is getting older too. And sometimes if your dog is really healthy, then you don't notice it as quickly as if you all have one problem after another.
Right.
So what is aging? And it's good to understand what it is. Okay, so here we go. It's a natural process. It's not, abnormal. We age at different speeds, okay? So you have cells die. That's called senescence. And so cells die. That's normal. But your regeneration, so the cells that die, then you want to regenerate. So if you're not giving food or supplements that help regenerate, then your dog or you are slowly degenerating. And when you have a problem, it's slower to heal. Mm-hmm. Your vital energy declines, so dogs sleep more. It's just good, which is, you rest. You don't need to be hyper all day long. And then the thing that you learn in Asian medicine is learning how to discover the weaknesses of a person or dog by their energy, their organ systems, their body fluids. Wrinkles are a result of losing body fluids. Your collagen, that's a part of aging. You can do, various kinds of treatments, on your face. But what's really important is what you take internally that helps you with, we call it a yin deficiency. So as you get older, your body fluids shrink. People shrink, actually, they get shorter because they don't have the collagen in their body. So oxidative stress. A friend of mine from vet school, I haven't seen him 40 years, and he did this great lecture on oxidative stress. What is that? Well, every time you take a deep breath and put oxygen in, yeah, you are oxygenating all these cells that need the oxygen. But then some cells die as a result because the oxygen creates metabolic waste products. I mean, the biggest one is your dog's poop and urine, but there's other metabolic waste products like in your joints. How are you going to get that out of there? They just build up, cause you to be stiff or your dog to be stiff. So what you do to contra the oxidative stress, which creates inflammation, is you have a cleaner diet so you don't have more chemicals in your body, and you use antioxidants, which I think is you get it from your vegetables, you get it from a pill. So oxidative stress, DNA damage, mutations. So when something dies or gets mutated, it's got to be somehow extinguished or released from the body, or else you'll get cancer. Or unless you can block that with an antioxidant or some other things that I use, like medicinal mushrooms.
I got the mushroom supplement for Lilli. She really liked that. I read that like one of two dogs, purebred dogs, will get cancer. And I thought that was astounding. That's a wild number. Why is that? One out of two cats.
This is the sad thing. Yeah, 1 out of 3 cats.
1 out of 3 cats if they're 10 years or older, and 1 out of 2 dogs if they're 10 years or older, purebreds.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I see mostly people call me for is cancer. So you have the cancer on one side, and then you have the natural breakdown of tissues, your spine, your joints, your liver, your kidneys, which is real common. And so this is going on at a slow pace all along. When a dog gets about 8 years old, that's kind of like when you probably should start doing something for longevity. Eventually, dogs die from some cancer or organ failure or drugs from the veterinary, like too much chemo. Mm-hmm. So oxidative stress is not your friend, nor your ally, because it creates all this chronic inflammation. So that's why you do these. You get your blood test. You ask them for a CR protein test to see how much inflammation you have in the body, because that reflects on, you could have a heart problem, you have some kind of cancer you don't even know about, or you're prone to a stroke, dementia. That's a result of oxidative stress, dementia. You can prevent dementia by taking lion's mane mushroom. I just read hundreds of pages of research on lion's mane, and Japan is really doing a lot of research because they have a older population. They have more old people than less and young people. And the old people have dementia for a lot of reasons. One, aluminum pots, they don't get enough exercise, and they don't have the proper diet. So lion's mane mushroom is becoming one of the things you treat Parkinson's, you treat Alzheimer's, you treat dementia, you treat memory loss. And it's something you can put in your dog's food, mix it with a little butter and put it in food that will support the brain function.
It is amazing. There's so many different mushrooms out there, and they all have their own. They're magical mushrooms, right?
Yeah. My father was a mushroom picker, and we just did those culinary, porcinis and some of the other ones that people eat. But it wasn't until I read this book by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, this Russian guy that was in a gulag, a Siberian labor camp, because he survived World War II in a prisoner of war camp. It's a long story. But anyhow, after he got out, after 20 years in a labor camp, he had cancer. He had no money and he had no place to go. So he lived with these old people in his village, and they all were like 90 years old, and they're chopping wood and hauling water. Nobody's sick. Nobody gets the flu. And they're all drinking this one mushroom all day long. And so after 3 years of drinking that mushroom, he cured himself of cancer. So I just say, God, that sounds really far out. Is this for real? And then I came across Christopher Hobbs, who's like my guru of mushrooms, because he actually took mushrooms, made it into biochemistry, and figured out, oh, wow, this is why they work against cancer, or they're good for kidney failure. And so Christopher Hobbs, and taking his courses, and you can take your courses with him. Some of them are free right now. Christopher Hobbs, Hobbs, if you're into mushrooms, because they do so many things. weight, your liver, your kidneys, your heart, your energy, prevent cancer, improve your immune system. So if there's one thing you can take, would be a combination of mushrooms that I usually talk about. And kidney failure is really common in little dogs that don't have a heart disease. But most little dogs have either heart disease or kidney failure. But you can start doing something when they're around 8 years old, you know?
So when I was going through these slides, I stopped right away when I saw the kidney channel deficiency, and it broke down, weakness in the legs, gray or silver hair, hearing loss. And those were three of the symptoms that Lilli had. And I didn't put them together as it being a result of something, right? I just thought, oh, she's getting older. And so when her legs first went out, I just thought, unfortunately, that was just her getting older. And then I went to the acupuncture and it corrected it. As far as the hearing loss, then I thought, can she hear? Is it selective? I wasn't sure, but she did go a lot blonder. So she didn't really like gray. It was more like, like a woman lightens her hair as she gets older. So that's what had happened. And she did have, she was peeing a little bit more and then thirsty a little bit more. But I also took Lilli to a separate healer here, and that part he was able to correct. So then I thought she was okay, but I didn't realize that you could then give supplements or foods specific to the kidneys.
Eastern Asian medicine, it's gotten westernized, but the stuff really works, and it's been tried for hundreds, if not thousands of years, some of these remedies. So like for your dog with a kidney yin deficiency is what we would call it, we would give your dog some medicinal mushrooms, some Chinese herbs, some antioxidants to slow down the oxidative stress and to help repair the damage that is happening. As you age, you lose cells, they die, and you need to regenerate. So what's in that bag of dog food that's going to help you regenerate? Usually not a lot.
Well, what do you say for, with these supplements? Lilli was 6.5 pounds. And, she really had a mind of her own. And the supplements that you had given me, there were quite a few. And I tried to give some in her food, and, then sometimes she didn't eat. And I just had a hard time administering them. Is there any secret trick that you could share with us of how to do it?
Well, of course, it depends on what you're giving.
Sure.
And little dogs are always hard because they're hard to pill. And if they also have bad teeth and gum disease, then their mouth is sore, and so they don't want anybody sticking fingers in their mouth. So that becomes really hard. And most of the Chinese stuff, the herbs or even the Western herbs can be bitter, can be sour, they can be spicy, they might not taste good or smell good. So a dog will smell and taste at the same time without touching the food. They can smell and taste.
So could you put things in syringes with water, or can you mix it and shoot the liquid?
Depending on the condition, making your own bone broth is a good way to mix certain things like medicinal mushrooms. You make some bone broth, you can freeze it in ice cube trays to use for future. And then you can melt a bone broth ice cube and then add your medicinal mushroom powder or whatever. And that way you can syringe it. Because a lot of these things, they won't eat in their food. You can get away with coenzyme Q10, which is really important for aging dogs, kidneys, liver, heart, brain. An antioxidant that slows down degeneration, repairs, and helps restore function. So coenzyme Q10 is one of the basic antioxidants to give to a dog that's 8 years old or older.
And what would you suggest for, I just thought of it now as we were talking because I was so focused on Lilli, but my mom has a Chihuahua, a little bit bigger, and she's probably around 14, I think. So she had her eye, she has ulcers in her eye, and one of them ruptured, and they wanted to do this graft, which I said no. And then they wanted to remove it, which I said no. And so now we did drops for, round the clock. So we got it kind of stable. We don't know if I don't think she can see out of the left eye, but the right eye also now has an ulcer, and she's on these round the clock drops. And I didn't even think about supplements or food.
How old is your dog?
Peanut's probably around 14.
Yeah. So people and dogs get the same thing. It's called dry eyes. Dry eyes is a form of yin deficiency. Your body fluids are deficient. You have less body fluids to lubricate the eye. You have less body fluids to move your joints. So like omega-3 fish oil is one of the things that is recommended for dry eyes. And besides that, it's an anti-inflammatory, so it works a little bit like aspirin as far as inflammation, pain. And then there's a whole set of what they give people for macular degeneration, but there's a company, I think it's called, Ocuvite or something like that.
Yes, I know that. My mom takes that. Isn't
Yeah,
it funny
so
when
yeah.
your pets, you and the pets and the parent have the same ailments? That's very odd, isn't that?
Yeah. No, it's really common. In fact, I have a veterinary friend in France that treats the bird and the human, or the bird or the dog and the human with similar herbs and homeopathy. It's a trip.
So Ocuvite, I can give to Peanut.
Yeah, you want to get the pet brand and this for the small dog size. So you have lutein, lycopene, then you have some antioxidants and vitamin A and vitamin C. And so food that you can say, okay, I'm going to want to do pills, but I want to do food with lutein and lycopene. So you got tomatoes, you got blueberries, you got raspberries, you got various things like collards and Brussels sprouts. So there's a lot of foods that help your eyes regenerate. So yeah, the eyes are gone, the hearing's going, but what are you doing to regenerate new cells? You can't just be feeding the same thing. So you need special food for the eyes. You need special food for the kidneys. You need special food for whatever's going on with you to improve regeneration. So like on this slide here, detoxify and hydrate. So over time, you accumulate a lot of stuff in your body, your dog's body. Pesticides, they like to be in your brain or in your body fat. Sometimes when you fast an animal or you fast yourself, you feel crappy because all that stuff is starting to come out of your fat and into your bloodstream, affecting your brain. So hydrating, water, coconut water, bone broth, green drinks. I have these green drinks where you mix raw vegetables with wheatgrass and carrot and make a juice, fresh juice that you can freeze in an ice cube tray and give your dog. Like a dog that doesn't eat like vegetables, what are you going to do? Well, you can make a raw juice, and you syringe it a couple times a day when they eat. And that's one way of doing it. Stop commercial pet foods. It's just loaded with stuff you don't need. Pesticides, Roundup. Stop the flea and tick treatments. It's like veterinarians are going crazy with these toxic drugs. Like, oh, you must do this. Well, they're more afraid of the flea or tick than they are with chemical that causes damage to the liver and the brain. So, if you can just bathe your dog. I bathed my dog yesterday, twice a week. I bathe her. I take all her bedding and I wash it on those days. So there's nothing hatching. And then when we go on hikes, I'm always watching her, or I put some rosemary and peppermint oil on her feet so she doesn't get ticks. I mean, there's a lot you can do without using pesticides, which actually increase your cancer risk.
Right. But I think sometimes people, they want the one and done. They want the easy way. They think like, oh, I can just put this poison, although they don't think it's poison for their animal on the, the back of, I did it initially when I had Lilli. And then I realized dogs were having seizures. And I thought, well, that doesn't make sense. That's we're not going to do that anymore. So
our society is a lazy society. They just want convenience. They're not going to cook for their dog. They're going to go to the fancy store that makes fresh dog food and they'll just buy it. But, being involved in the process of aging and cooking, learning about food as medicine for yourself, be healthy yourself. That's what got me in this whole thing. I was at UCLA. I was doing night school. I was working in LA and I was like bored at night. So I went to night school. So I took Eastern philosophy, Eastern religions, took some yoga classes. And then they started talking about macrobiotic diet. What the heck is that? Well, macrobiotic diet from Japan is like vegetables, not a lot of meat, once in a while, maybe, but mostly cooking vegetables, helping, if you're overweight, you're not going to eat more fat and fried foods. I mean, it's really logical. So that got me into like first feeding myself healthier, feeling better. And then I noticed my dog ate my meal one day. My Doberman ate my macrobiotic steamed rice, brown rice, some cooked vegetables, and he ate the whole thing. And I said, gosh, maybe I should be doing this to my dogs. And then I read some books by, I have a book here.
You got a lot of books back there.
Yeah, this is the book that I thought was crazy because she recommended raw. And I said, gosh, that's not what we taught. They didn't teach us that in vet school. They said raw is really bad, but she grew up raising dogs with no problem. Juliette de Barclay-Levy, The Complete Herbal Book for Dogs. And that was I read that in 1973. And so I thought it was crazy. And I put that book aside for a couple of years until I got, all these dogs are sick. They're eating all this Purina and, all those TV advertised foods, and they're all sick.
Right.
Changing your diet really made a difference to me. And then learning this food is good for kidneys and this one is good for, that organ. I mean, that was totally amazing. So you have to be in the process yourself to understand it and understand the value of when you cook, when you make food, whether it's raw, cooked or not, you're adding your love, your intention. In Hawaiian, we call it mana. You put your energy, your love, your whole thing into that food, which is not what you're going to get in a bag or can. We got people working at minimum wage, looking at the clock, waiting to get, home. They're not putting love and praying over your dog's food. And that makes a difference.
I love that. That's like that movie, Water for Chocolate. And she would make this chocolate with love. And then everybody was falling in love. It was a great movie with Julia Binoche.
Yes. I got to watch that one again. So then there's pain and immobility problems. So veterinarians just throw painkillers at. And if you're lucky, you'll get maybe chondroitin and glucosamine. But basically, there's a lot of other ways of dealing pain than just okay, what kind of pain is it? Is it sharp pain, dull pain? Does it happen all the time? Is it constant? Is it intermittent? Is it burning pain? I mean, there's a different kind of pain depending on what is causing the problem. And that's why if you go to someone who knows acupuncture and massage, chiropractic, they know about what causes pain. And so I have to tell you this story. My wife and I were running 6 miles a day and we had knee pains and we're I don't know, in our 40s, early 40s. And so we heard about this great chiropractor. So we, okay, how much does he cost? Oh, it's $250. That was a lot of money back in the 80s for just an exam.
That
so
is.
Him, okay. And he says, okay, I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to do anything to you. I want you to quit red wine, quit chocolate, and quit eating meat. And then after 2 weeks, if you have problems, then I'll see you. Okay. So we did that. We quit chocolate, sweets, red wine, eating meat. We went back to macro and, no pain. It was amazing.
Really?
All we did, stop bad food.
That's a tough one, though. I love red wine and chocolate. I can live without the meat.
Well, if you don't have a joint problem, the red wine doesn't make you worse. It might not be your problem, but our problem was maybe too much red wine.
Well, there could be that.
So
Okay.
This is what we talked about. Oxidative stress creates inflammation. If you have inflammation in your body, that creates cell death because there's a lot of blood flow and there's dead cells. And so you either get mutations and then get cancer, or you have a breakdown of tissues and you get organ failure. And then eventually dogs die, either cancer or they're going to have kidney or heart failure. And that's usually what the three things I see mostly likely. So disease of aging, oxidative stress, chronic inflammation. It doesn't start all of a sudden you got cancer. No, it takes a while. It's a process. Same thing with all these other things, metabolic syndrome, pancreatitis, all these things build up and then you have an emergency and you have to go to your vet. And the same thing with arthritis and rheumatism. If your dog's not moving much, then the circulation's not good. They're eating a lot of food that causes metabolic waste. if it's not removed from the body, it's going to be in the joints. And then you're going to, just like that experience I had, metabolic waste, red meat, red wine, chocolate, had to give that up. And then, gosh, my arthritis is better, So when you're aging, regeneration is reduced. So you heal slower. Degeneration and inflammation is increased. So you just take pills all the time? No, you can do other things. Your vital energy declines. So your dog's going to sleep a lot, or you're going to get tired sooner. And then you have to figure out what are the deficiencies that the animal needs to be supplemented. So you just don't give any kind of supplement. You want to know what is the deficiency.
Specific, which, yeah, I saw you break this down, which is so great.
Yeah. And so in Chinese medicine, you have an herb formula for each one, each problem, which is great, So we can't replace parts. Okay. I got two 20-year-old trucks, and they constantly need new parts. We can't do that with animals. You can do that sometimes with people, but that's not the way to go. And a lot of the old injuries and traumas. So if you, like, I have that surfing injuries in my neck. So, certain things I do, I could aggravate them. Weather changes. So the same thing with animals. Sometimes they get worse in the wintertime with their arthritis. Other dogs get worse skin problems in the summertime. So we also include the environment. So the climate, the weather, the temperature, the humidity, all that is taken into consideration when you go to a veterinarian who's got some Chinese medicine in his background. That's how we look at things. And then, of course, you have all these toxins that build up in your body. And, Christopher Hobbs, he's the guy, the mushroom guru I have. He says, if you fast one day a week, it'll give you probably 10 more years of life. Now, I haven't gotten there yet, but that's
a huge statement. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And when he says fasting, he means like no food for.
Yeah, no food, just water or juice drinks. I can do like 3 days or a week of juice fasting. So it's like vegetable juices raw. And I think starting next month, we're going to do that process. We usually do it once a year. So you do like a week of juice fasting just to clean out. And you can do that with your dogs too, but you can probably just do once a week. That one day they get juice only. And some of my formulas are pretty good. They have everything in them, minerals, nutritional yeast. So you're fasting them from food that is hard to digest, and you're taking things in that help detox the liver, detox the kidneys, detox the blood, and you have a little bit of nutrition in there.
That's fantastic. And I think, I've done a juice cleanse for 3 days. 3 days is kind of my limit. And then I go a little kooky with it. But, it's interesting because you do have to change things up a little. Lilli, I also put her on a raw diet. It took a long time for me to get there. And I was really nervous, and I consulted with a lot of people. And for a while, she loved it. She ended up gaining way too much weight because I didn't realize how rich it is. But then once things took a turn, I needed to take her off of it. And I did. Because it was too hard, I think, for her to digest. And it was better for her to have some things like that you gave, which, were the vegetables and the livers. And so, if your dog is having an ailment, I think it would, be beneficial to, you might have to try a few things and see. But then the fasting could be nice.
Yeah, some dogs do well with raw food. And I do like a little bit of raw food, a little bit of cooked food. I don't do like one thing. But I make my own food. So I like to cook. Okay. So I don't have a problem making a special meal for my 3 cats and then a little different one for my dog and then cooking dinner. I mean, I can do that all at once, take a couple hours, but in general, it's, I like it, and it's like, I feel like I'm participating in my dog's health by giving her the best of what I know. And it's mostly our food, what we eat, vegetables, a little bit of meat, a little bit of fish.
Well, that's the best part because you can make it for yourself and then just give some to your dog.
Yeah. You just got to know the balance, which I talk about in my book, which is, one by volume, 1 part, some kind of protein. That could be eggs, fish, meat, organ meat, could be yogurt. 1 part, a prebiotic starch. You need to feed the intestinal bacteria that help digest food. So that could be like organic oatmeal, or it could be broccoli, cabbage, celery. It could be a combination of those things. And then Green vegetables that have antioxidant properties. Kale is a good one. Spinach is a good one for eye problems. It's got lutein. Some people age quicker than others. Some people gosh, they look pretty good, but they're like vegans, and and then some people look like, wow, this person looks older than I am. And, they're eating at, Taco Bell.
Right.
But you have all this stuff stored up. And so you have to deal with this stuff. And then your veterinarian just pour on more chemicals, more drugs, and then tell you to eat dog food that's got heavy metals in it. So we talked about the cancer. 1 out of 3 cats over 10 will die some cancer-related disease, and then 1 out of 2 dogs. I couldn't believe this when I was reading the research on this. It's like, holy cow! No wonder I see so much. I don't see so much cancer within my own clients, but mostly from other vets. So then we talked about kidney deficiency, and you noticed the weakness in the rear legs and the graying, and then the hearing loss, and then increased urination. Some dogs leak urine, kidney problems, anemia. I mean, all these things you can diagnose by knowing how to diagnose without having all these machines. I mean, it's so weird. You go to a vet or you go to a regular doctor, and they won't tell you anything that's wrong with you until you get the blood test, you get the x-rays, you get the ultrasound, you get the MRI. And then, thousands of dollars later, I think you've got a kidney problem.
That's so true. So I have a friend, I know we're talking about aging, but she has a 5-year-old dog, and out of nowhere, her legs just kind of gave out and she wasn't walking at all. And I sent her to an acupuncturist here, and she is actually standing now and doing a little bit of walking. And I think she had told her to get some probiotic and I don't know what other supplements, but, of course I know you need to know more information, but that seems like an uncommon thing for a 5-year-old dog to all of a sudden not be able to walk.
Well, what breed is it?
That's a good question. I think it's a mix of something. I actually don't know.
Big dog or small dog?
It's a small dog.
So small dogs have problems with their discs.
Mm-hmm.
They're intravertebral disc. So their spine is usually the problem. And the reason why is they bounce up and down. They bounce up on the bed. Sometimes they don't make it and they fall back and hurt themselves without the owner knowing. Large dogs can have problems because of genetics. So they were born with bad hips, or they were born with weak shoulders, or they have their ancestors had spinal problems. So knowing the breed helps, and you can look it up. What are the problems with a Chihuahua? All the problems with, a golden retriever. And so you can at least understand, like my dog could have bone cancer because it's a Rottweiler. So what can I do to prevent bone cancer? Right. Her parents had bone cancer, so therefore she has the gene for bone cancer. But just because you have the gene for bone cancer doesn't mean, or the gene for breast cancer doesn't mean you're going to get it. You have to activate some of your immune system to suppress the genes that activate and cause cancer. One of the things that does that is melatonin. So melatonin is a good thing for old dogs for many reasons. People think it's just about, it helps you sleep. No, I thought that too. It stimulates wound healing. It helps, calms you down. But the main thing it does is activates your immune system against cancer. So they had all this research on women with cancer, breast cancer, and they were terminal. They're going to die. Olivia Newton-John just died.
I know, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And so the study was half the women, they're going to die. They gave a placebo, and the other half, they gave melatonin. And the ones that had melatonin lived like a year to 2.5 years longer. They didn't change anything, nothing in their diet, nothing in their treatment. They had the same everything. And so that kind of opened me up, and you go to scholar.google. So if you want to find science, some of you are into that, some don't.
Yes, like me.
Go to scholar.google and put in melatonin/cancer, and you'll get 100 research papers to read on how it helps slow down cancer.
Oh, that's amazing. What a great piece of advice. I didn't even know you could do that. Melatonin was something that you had told me to give Lilli, which I did for a while. That's one of the ones that she would take, and then she stopped. and she
Yeah, I just take it,
spit it out.
for that reason, for my immune system. I don't want to get cancer, and helps me sleep. And I do like to dream. So some people don't like to take it. Like one of my staff people doesn't. She says I have weird dreams on that stuff. I can't take melatonin. Well, maybe you're taking the wrong dose. So that's the other thing, dosing it properly. It would be good to go to a veterinarian that knows how to dose, because sometimes a low dose works as good as a high dose, and sometimes you need a high dose.
Mm-hmm.
So on this slide, it shows like, what can you do? Well, detoxify and hydrate. So we talked about green drinks, fasting, water, stop the flea and tick chemicals, increase antioxidant foods. That's going to be your green leafy vegetables, or your vegetables that are orange, red, or yellow. So all the colored vegetables have antioxidants in them.
Really, really like those peppers.
Yeah. My dog won't eat peppers, but she eats Mexican food. She likes spicy food. And then going back to pain, instead of just like throwing pain medicine, for one, I have pain, so I understand it. You don't have pain all the time, so you shouldn't be taking ibuprofen like twice a day for days or weeks or months. Like veterinarians tell you, oh yeah, take this Rimadyl here.
Yes, I've been given that.
No, you want to know why it's got pain. What kind of pain? Is it blood stagnation? Dog needs more exercise. Swimming is one of the best things. One of my clients bought a house with a swimming pool just because her dogs needed to exercise in the water. And going to the beach was chaotic and not fun. So she bought a house with a swimming pool for her dogs so they can swim. That's one of the better exercises. And if you live near a beach, just walking on the beach in the deep sand, just for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that's really good for building up muscle endurance and all that kind of stuff. So exercise should be part of the plan for mollifying pain and stiffness. And the other thing is massaging. People should learn how to massage their own pets. You can't afford a massage person. There's enough YouTubes online you can watch, and there's enough people teaching it that you can learn. But the best way to learn about massage is you get a massage yourself. That's the best way. That's how I learn acupuncture. I just go to the best acupuncturists that I can find, and I stay with them for a few years, and I go for another one. And that's the best way you find out how to do massage, is go get a good massage, and then you'll feel it. And once you feel it, it'll be in your brain as a memory on how to do it. And
I really love massage. That's so funny. And there are people that do pet massage. There are people.
Yeah, people think it's like, oh gosh, that's over the top, But, it's not about, luxurious massage. We're talking about therapeutic massage, And even, massaging your dog, you don't know what you're doing. If your dog doesn't bite you, you're probably doing okay,
Yeah. And would you use a little essential oil or anything with that massage?
Well, that's the whole topic, essential oils. If you overdose, it's difficult with cats.
Yeah, they're very strong.
With some thin-skinned dogs like whippets, maybe some of the chihuahuas. But, you got to be careful on how you make them. So I make my own massage things for pets. But the easiest one that you can probably buy is a CBD oil that is used for topical.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can use that and use your hands to rub it around. That's usually what's good. But I make things out of rosemary and some of the plants here. Kava kava, which is a Polynesian drink that people drink. But if you make an extract, you can put on your body and it relaxes your muscles right away. So that could be a whole workshop right there.
Amazing. There is a lot. Yes, there's so much information, so many amazing things you can do naturally to help your pet. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We had a lot of information to cover, and so this is part 1. We're going to have part 2 next week with Dr. Basko and continue on with all the incredible information he has to share. So today we covered everything from a more modern veterinarian style spa-like feel to an office, to acupuncture, fresh food, of course, was a very big one, cooking for your furry baby, oxidative stress, massage, essential oils, supplements, mushrooms, antioxidants, eye health, detox. We covered a lot, and there's still more to talk about. So I hope you'll join us next week for part 2 with Dr. Ihor Basko. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please rate, review, subscribe, and share on Apple Podcasts. It would mean the world to me. You can find me at greenwithtiffany.com and on Instagram. Till next time, choose to care.